G'day, how's it going guys? Ezra Hansen here. So this, the topic of this video I think will be a wee bit controversial, but there was an incident here on the weekend that I want to talk about that got me kind of thinking. The neighbour's son was having his 10th birthday. He comes around and helps us around here quite a bit, and I thought a 10-year-old, I think I'll give him a pocket knife. So I asked his mum. She said it was all good. He had a couple of pocket knives already. He'd been using them for a couple of years. I gave him, this is a Chinese copy of a Swiss Army knife. I am going to review this. I gave him one exactly the same as this. I gave him this because he'd shown interest in some of the Swiss Army knives that I've got, but I thought being a 10-year-old he might lose it, so I'll give him the Chinese one first, and maybe in a couple of years I might hook him up with a real one. So what happened, the rule was he wasn't allowed to use it unless there was an adult helping him, and he disobeyed that later in the afternoon. Him and the other kids were mucking around with it, and he went to close this. This is like a slip joint. He went to close it, and he closed it on the thumb, and it cut through the tendon, and he actually had to go have surgery to fix the tendon. And just so you know, the parents are saying that it was because he wasn't under supervision that it happened, and they're still happy that I gave him the pocket knife, and they're happy that he's learned a lesson. So it got me thinking about safe options for kids with knives. Obviously, a lot of people watching this will just think that kids shouldn't have knives, but I think when we're living around sort of farms, or when we're out in the garden, things like that, a lot of you guys watching are doing the self-sufficiency thing. So your kids will be helping you in the garden, around the farm and stuff. Now, even though that accident happened, I think a slip joint is a good option, which I'll go into a wee bit more in a minute. But when I was a kid, my dad, he showed me to close it all the time, just by like if you're on a table or around a piece like a post or on your leg or whatever, you can just close it like that so your fingers aren't in the way at all. So you just hold it on the sides, and then you just close it like that, so there's no issues. And with a Swiss Army knife or a copy like this, obviously you've got other tools, so I think that's a good option. So that's one option. A lot of people think that the safest is a locking knife. This is a wee buck bantam, awesome little knife. Obviously it's not going to close on you, but I think I'd prefer the slip joint, because when I was a kid I used to have these as well as the slip joints, and there was quite a few times I used to cut myself because I wasn't strong enough, and you'd be pushing on it, and then you'd finally get a release on the lock, and then you'd close it on your finger. So if you want to go down that route, that's fine, but it's not my preferred route. So we've got the Swiss Army knife. You could obviously give them a real Swiss Army knife. This is a Wenger. Awesome knives. They're easy to sharpen, which is a good thing. But as I say, they're a bit more expensive. Another option is something like an open L. I mentioned this in the review that I did. So you've got a lock here, so it is a locker, but you don't have any spring tension on it. So it's real easy to close, and it's not going to shut on you with a lot of force. That's a good option. Now, my preferred option, I'd get them a fixed blade. So this is a backhoe, which is essentially a more clipper. These are awesome knives. You get them for about $10 at like your local, like your farmlands or whatever. These are awesome, I think, because you have a bit more control of them because you've got a bigger handle, and also obviously it's not going to close on them, and they're a bit more robust as well, which is good because when you're a kid you use it for everything that you're not supposed to, like for prying things and all sorts of things, and they come with a good hard sheath, which is a good thing. When I was a kid I had a knife that had a vinyl sheath, and I put it through the sheath and I cut my leg open, so the plastic's a good option. Yeah, on the same line you've got the Moras, or just any of the other there's heaps of options out there for sheath knives. Like you've got these wee neck knives as well. Also another good option, which I'm just going to grab, is this Ford Peasant. Also, you guys have already seen this, but this is the mini Peasant, so obviously it's more suited to small hands. So if you're holding it how you should be, it's not able to close on you, and again there isn't any tension on it, so I think that's a good option. So that's my thoughts on that. There's a couple of options there if you're thinking about getting your kids a knife. Alright, let me know what you guys think. Like and subscribe. Alright, we'll see you next time.